Oh, Shalom Aleichem. Shabbat Jeff D. Yifdeya. Johannes Wilde Emmanuel. Rastafari Renaissance. And of the Lion of Judah Society. My brothers and sisters, I just wanted to, give another testimony again and another video log here. Just bringing about the tensions about more so going into our linguistics. So when we really look at language, especially from our perspective, looking into the Ethiopian Hebrew heritage and more so the Afro-Semitic languages, or what ones would know as the Shemitic language, it's a lot to really unpack going into those type of studies, because so much has been covered up and not explored to a certain extent. But your brother is going a little deeper into those studies and bringing that out a little more. Hopefully it will be helpful to others, to do a little more study, definitely more in depth, and a lot of what is circulating, especially on the airwaves, and what you might find in certain literature containing Shemitic languages. I mean, for the most part, even amongst your, most esteemed and most, reverent scholars, they would know the majority of Shemitic languages to be Afro-Shemitic. This is the category that they put on languages or dialects like Hebrew, Amharic, and of course the Arabic as well. Along with many others, including in the ancient Shebayik, or what ones would know as the Yemenite, which stems to the kingdoms that arose in Aksum, and of course among Ethiopia. But we just tend to, go a little deeper into those languages because they are, more so, adjacent to I own heritage as well. So just really wanted to point that out for, a moment, because this is, what we are seeking to bring out more. And hopefully ones are receiving it at a certain point to where they can, at least recognize, what is true and what they can, discard or put to the side as, farce. But going into the Hebrew, for example, much of the Hebrew has been reconstructed in a lot of different ways. And the majority of Hebrew that most ones would come across, for, category purposes and just a name placeholder, ones would know it as modern Hebrew. Now, the funny thing about modern Hebrew is that it really stems from more of a Germanic and, I should say, more Greco-Roman type dialect, and it's clearly prevalent because most of the words that come out of the language, or the way that they're pronounced, just seem to come to a conclusion of what you would see in most Grecian and Romantic type languages. And from the root of what Hebrew is, it just doesn't stem from that. Its origin is not placed in Greece or Rome or Germany, for that matter. Now, I'll take for instance that there are many ones with Germanic inheritance or Germanic roots that speak what they would know as Hebrew today, but the fact of the matter is it's categorized as modern Hebrew. And at the same time, we still have what ones would know, and as they come across in their studies, as biblical Hebrew. So, anyone with, just a little bit of common sense would ask the question, well, what's really the difference between biblical Hebrew and modern Hebrew? And well, it's the fact that I mentioned just a second ago is that the root stems from different geographical locations. And that brings about in your modern Hebrew, which would be a Greco-Roman or a Germanic heritage or Germanic, influence that comes to many of the Yiddish or the Romantic and Grecian type languages. Now, a really good piece of literature that ones would probably have to check out and search out. I'm sure it's probably still circulating, on the internet and many other various literature holding places like your libraries and such, especially amongst your collegiate studies somewhere in certain colleges and certain places where you could search these things out, where you could find that the biblical Hebrew juxtaposed to the modern Hebrew just brings about a different root. And much of the biblical Hebrew has been reconstructed using many of the other Afro-Shemitic languages, especially the Ge'ez or the Ethiopic, to be more precise. So in finding that is what you'll notice is much of the Arabic, the Hebrew, the Ethiopic or Amharic, Ge'ez, and many of the other Ethiopic languages, has many words that are, very, very similar to what you would find in the Hebrew. So in really studying more of it, you tend to find that the majority of these Shemitic languages, have an Ethiopic root, and what they really stem from and really come to. Ones that have an eye and really are searching these things out. You tend to find that the Hebrew, Arabic, so on and so forth of these Afro-Semitic languages, as what the leading professors and scholars and historians, tend to find out, is that most of these languages are not languages, in the sense of stemming from a specific culture, this, that, and the fourth. But what they tend to come out to be is dialects. And a good example of that is we'll take American English. Anyone who's familiar with English or speaks English knows that English comes from England. So there's a certain way that people from the Isles of England or the United Kingdom, speak English in a certain way. And when you have Americans who speak English as well, it tends to drop a lot of the rules or, just manners of speaking that Englishmen would usually speak English in. So, and even more so with the American English, you have certain dialects and geographical locations that even, break down the language of English into many different compartments. So, you have, even amongst, Afro-Americans, I would say, is probably the most, illicit example, because there can be so many different, connotations and different ways of speaking English in that manner that, you could see that one would speak English, but they have so many catchphrases and, so many other ways of saying words. And this all stems mostly from, the youth, I would say, that more so push these type of expressions and push them out in ways that, might not be recognizable to someone who's from another geographical location in America. So take example for northeastern English speakers. Among Afro-Americans, they probably would speak English in a certain way that probably wouldn't be recognizable at first hand from someone who's from the southern regions or the southeastern regions, or one would speak differently from the southeastern regions to ones from the western regions of America. So that's just an example of how categorized or compartmentalize that languages or dialects of one language, can be broken up into different sections. And I'm pretty sure that this stems in many other languages as well. Of course, in the Spanish, how ones of the European country of Spain would speak Spanish in a different way that others would speak Spanish from more of the Caribbean islands and Mexico, and of course Dominican Republic and Cuba, so on and so forth. I'm pretty sure that many of the people in those specific locations would speak Spanish in a different way. And another good example of pointing that out is the documentary done on PBS. It's from Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. He did a really good study on that and a really good documentary that's I would recommend to anyone just doing more historical study. And it's not just specific to language, but specific to histories and cultures of different peoples or peoples in different geographical locations, and just learning more about history in a perspective from a worldwide view. And it was much that I gained myself from learning on that. And even so, into another example of the Portuguese, ones from the European country of Portugal, of course, would speak Portuguese a lot different than those from, say, Brazil. So, and it's even categorized as Brazilian Portuguese, and just going a little bit into, how ones would speak Portuguese from a Brazilian tongue, would be clearly recognizable from one speaking from a European Portuguese linguistic or tongue or language and dialect, so on and so forth. But that brings out a lot. But, just getting back to the point that we're making here about the Hebrew is that you have categorized here the biblical Hebrew and you have modern Hebrew. Now, we mentioned here earlier that most of the modern Hebrew is the construct of what we would know as Yiddish. And this is where we have coming forward the Germanic tongue and the Greco-Roman tongue, or the Romantic languages, having their influence on the Hebrew. And this is basically the building blocks of what we have found to come to what is known as modern Hebrew. Now, biblical Hebrew, and what I found was so specific about biblical Hebrew, is that it's always leading to an Ethiopic root. And the Ethiopic root, really gives more validity to what the Hebrew or the Hebraic linguistic or dialect, continues to be a standpoint in which ones can, even so rightly categorize Hebrew as biblical, because just in the expression, and the ways that biblical Hebrew is spoken, it comes to a different, and distinctive expression that is just not equivalent to what ones would know as modern Hebrew. Now, a good point of reference for that, is really once one's actually get into the study a little more, and you tend to find what ones would probably come across as Tiberian Hebrew. That's a really good searching point for ones who want to study more Hebrew or actually learn Hebrew to the point that they are speaking it fluently, whether that's modern Hebrew, Yiddish, or even the biblical Hebrew, as what we are speaking of today. But Tiberian Hebrew, just keep that in mind once ones are searching, because that'll really give you a great point of reference. And again, that would lead to, the time of 70 AD as a historical reference point in which ones will be able to decipher more and exploring and uncovering what the extent of biblical Hebrew, entails. So, leading to the time of Tiberius, or the ruling entity which ruled over Rome, once the time of Judea was more so a conjunctive adherent and more so under the rule of Roman influence and Greco-Roman influence in the time of the Roman Empire. You actually see and are able to trace more so of what the biblical Hebrew is and what it had become, and where the modern Hebrew tends to pick up, where the biblical Hebrew is, seemingly lost. So a lot of uncoverings come about, especially the Dead Sea Scrolls and scrolls of the Essenes and the Gnostics and so on and so forth, bring about the uncovering and the discovery, also rediscovery of what biblical Hebrew tends to show itself to be. And what is most prevalent, again, I must say, is the similarities among the Shemitic languages that bring out the validity that biblical Hebrew has an Ethiopic root. So, I mean, as one of just a just another person, just really trying to find out a lot of things and learn and grow as I continue, in my studies, especially on the Bible, the Holy Bible, and the scriptures of many of these, quote unquote Shemitic peoples. You tend to find out that there's more than meets the eye. And I would encourage ones who are continuing their studies and really find what's missing, because those are the points that really connect the dots, pertaining to these scriptures, which have been rewritten so many times to the point that it doesn't really give justice to what ones are reading when they read the Holy Bible or the Holy Scriptures of today. But just another point that I will continue to bring out, as a brethren of the Ethiopian Hebrew lineage. I take it very I should say seriously myself, because I've found more so in looking into my own heritage, and even that from a genetical standpoint, and not just doing this about willy-nilly and going about something that just seems like something to do. It's more important to me, because I have more claims to a lot of the things that have been spoken, especially on biblical Hebrew, not just from an egotistical standpoint, but from a point of reference, and pertaining to my own blood and my own ancient culture, my own roots. This is something that I found to be true, and others who are more so inclined to other specific avenues or specific professions, have shown me to points of reference that show that this case improves, that I am who I am, even 1,000 or 2,000 years removed. So I take a much more intense, I should say, just a more intense interest in looking into these things, because it more so helps me explain more things that have been uncovered and not discovered until this time, until I was born into this world, and I was left with just little, to figure out, not only about myself, but about my family and about my heritage. So, I leave ones and ones, a little bit with this, just as another recording and, a reference point for ones to check out. I feel no way about explaining these things, because, no one else seems to be, stepping up to this point and bringing these things out to the point to where they're spoken and just brought out to be a point where people can actually study and find out if they are true or farce. So, again, my brothers and my sisters, I give thanks for you listening again. And we will continue with our linguistical studies, especially in the Amharic, the Ge'ez, and the Hebrew. Hopefully we will get into more languages, of course, like the Arabic. Of course, I'm one who is still learning much and seeking to acquire more, just step by step. And, I give thanks again for so much support from ones who have continued to, just give me encouragement in the things that I continue to do, whether it is alone or, with others in collaboration. And hopefully you will continue to tune in here at LidGFD on YouTube. And we will have many more vids and posts to put up. So I thank you again. And we'll see you in the next video. Shalom.